we're really excited to welcome Scott Edelman here tonight. So Scott is the CEO and Executive Director of Burke Rehabilitation, a nationally recognized and accredited non-for-profit healthcare provider specializing in rehab treatment, research, and education. Previously serving as Burke's Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, Scott brings over 30 years of experience in addressing physical and medical rehabilitation needs with a patient-centered approach, stressing quality and safety, while also expanding Burke's award-winning care to locations throughout Westchester County, the Hudson Valley, and the Bronx. He's a two-time alum with a BBA in accounting and an MBA in finance. He's a New York State certified public accountant and a certified fraud examiner. Scott sits on several boards and is an adjunct professor in the MBA program of the SUNY system, and also has taught courses here at Iona and at Long Island University. Scott's evolution from being an Iona student to becoming CEO of Burke is an incredible success story, which we're looking forward to hearing more about tonight. And what I've gotten to know about Scott prior to this event is that he just loves Iona. He's an Iona guy, and he credits Iona, and specifically our MBA program, for his success. And many of you in the room tonight might be thinking about staying here at Iona for an extra year to get your MBA. And he's a great example of how successful you can become with an Iona education. And we're also excited to announce a new partnership between Iona University and Burke, thanks to Scott's leadership, that will create opportunities for Burke employees to attend Iona's graduate programs to help elevate their skills and knowledge, and also providing internship and career opportunities for our students. And so tonight we're going to get his Iona story. We're going to learn about his career path and the wide-ranging opportunities in the healthcare industry. And so with that, please join me in welcoming Scott Edelman.
So this is a surreal moment for me to see what this building looks like compared to when I took classes here. When I walked on the campus, I was blown away. And I walked into this lobby and saw the original brick from the Hagen School of Business, where I spent countless hours in the basement of this building studying. When I say countless hours, we probably fell asleep on a table more than 10 nights a semester. And why did we spend countless hours? Because we wanted to be great students, and we wanted to do more. I'm blown away that you all are here to hear from me. I'm going to tell you my story. I do want this to be interactive. Raise your hand if you have a question. Yes, I will call on you. They said I was a professor. And at the end, I will leave plenty of time for Q&A. That sounded like a very impressive bio, so whoever wrote that, thank you very much. So I am really, I'm here because of Iona. It's Iona University now. And by the way, we did it first. Then Pace, and then Mercy, and then whoever else followed us. So let that be known. Put that on your Twitter, the TikTok, or whatever you do on social media. Iona was first. And when I went here, it was Iona College. And I could not be able to stand up here and address 100+ students, alumni, professors, and friends if it wasn't for Iona. In one of my first classes as a graduate student, we had to give a presentation. I was shaking. I had no idea I can't get in front of people. And in those times, every class was in person. Now you got hybrid, async, sync. I very much prefer the in-person touch and teaching. And it was nerve-wracking, and some of you in this room feel it now. The more you do it, the better you get at it. The more you become a storyteller and understand the work, the better you get at it. And I look around the room and I see Professor Bill Bottiglieri. Has anyone had him yet? Make sure you study and read the chapter twice. If he calls on you, don't have an answer, it's going to be trouble. And I credit Professor Bottiglieri for making sure I was always prepared and overly prepared, because I didn't want to be the one to get called on, because there's no phone a friend, there's no let you off the hook. Have an answer, don't come to class. And that taught me something. And I came up with Professor E's five P's. I'm Professor E. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Practice that every day. Don't go to class to go to class. Go to class and you're ready. I saw Dr. Manley earlier. I think he's teaching the class. He's not here. Anybody have Dr. Manley? He's finance. Okay, good. Be prepared in his class. Great professor. Don't phone it in. Okay, good. So I want to start with my story. Yes, that's me. Yeah, you can laugh. It's fine. Listen, that hairstyle was cool back then. Right? October 2nd, 1989. I started in the mailroom. I'm writing a book. It's called From the Mailroom to the Boardroom. Don't ask me when it's coming out because I'm still writing the book. The goal is October 1st, 2035. Ask me why. You got to say why now. Why? Because that's the year and the month I retired. Because I name names. I will never get another job in healthcare once this book comes out. So look at the journey, right? I started in the mailroom. I left due to organizational right sizing. I didn't even know what that meant. I know they gave me 2 checks to go away. One was any accrued time, and the other one was 8 weeks of severance. So I'm 19 years old, so that was a lot of money. Then I came back, yes, in the mailroom, because someone in the mailroom was going back to school for a master's degree, and I was the first phone call. Out of the mailroom, my first job was an accounting clerk. I said, wow, I'm making $15,000 a year. That's a lot of money back then, right? So how did this whole progression go from an accounting clerk to now CEO? Listening to people, working hard, never settling for anything mediocre, always wanting to do more, always wanting to do better. Listening and learning. I had a 5th grade teacher. She said, Scott, 2 ears, 1 mouth. You talk too much. Now I get paid to talk. No one's paying me for this, by the way. This is because I love the college. So I was the senior vice president and CFO up to about 3 years ago. When the CEO at the time, he said, I'm going to retire in 2 years. I said, okay, where's he going with this? Did you ever think about sitting in my chair? Never did. He said, you have it. So I said, what's it? He said, you have the ability to lead this hospital. Can I mentor you for 2 years? What would you all have said? Absolutely. So he mentored me for 2 years, but there was no easy layup or a path to the basket. This was a full-fledged search, and 50 people applied for the job. And there were 5 rounds of interviews. And it was like American Idol. I had to wait to call to the next round. And it's a true story. There were 5 rounds, and I remember there was a Sunday. I was sitting in my kitchen drinking a cup of tea, and my phone rang. And I said hello, and it was the board chair. And he started with congratulations. So I was waiting for the second line. He said, you made it to the final round. I said, okay, John, what does that mean? He said, it's you and 2 other people. I go, okay, what are the next steps? He said, would you like to know who the other 2 people are? You just met me. What did I say? No. I said no, and he said, why? I said, they should be worried about me. I'm not spending any time worrying about them. Lo and behold, I found out who they were after I took the job. They could have not run our hospital. So here's me now. Picture's different, right? Lost all my hair due to the job. And here's the leadership. Here's the value principle, right? I worked in the mailroom as a mail clerk. I'm now responsible for a 61-acre campus, 1,000 employees, and 13 locations. And our hospital restores lives. Our hospital is all about hope. No one comes to my hospital because they want to check into the Waldorf. They come to my hospital because a traumatic event occurred. And it is our goal and role to get them back to maximum recovery. But the journey doesn't stop there. Having 13 outpatient sites and doing 200,000 visits a year is amazing. When I first started in the mailroom, we had 1 site. And coincidentally, at that time, a movie was being filmed at our hospital regarding Henry with Harrison Ford. Look it up. It's an old movie because you guys are young. But it was all filmed on our campus. We had 1 site. Now we have 13. April 1st, we'll open up in the new Lord & Taylor space, in the old Lord & Taylor space in Eastchester. July 1st, I'm opening up in Mount Vernon. Next year, I'm looking for 2 more sites. Growth. Never settling for what you're doing today. Always look to grow in your own lives, in your knowledge. I know everyone's glued to their phones. Take a break from ESPN or from social media. Read something different. Do something different. And my time is so crunchy and valuable. I started my day this morning at 5:15 a.m. My first meeting was 6 a.m. with the night staff of the nursing department. I have quarterly breakfast with them to ask them what matters to you. What else can we do? We made a big push for market value salaries, retirement contributions, and medical benefits because we want to recruit and retain the best and the brightest. I also sit on a bunch of boards, the Westchester County Association, Westchester Community College Academic Curriculum Board, on all these different committees. Before I took the job, I asked my CEO, what is our strategic plan? He said, it's simple. Keep your beds full and costs down. I said, that's not strategy. So I convinced the board to do a strategic plan. They automatically wanted to go out and hire a consultant. So I said to the board, can I put together my own team of Avengers? When you see who I put, you'll let me go forward or not. So I went and got my 30 years of healthcare experience, and I poked the best and the brightest. I said, this is my team. They said, great, go forward. And what came out of that is 53 initiatives. We threw spaghetti at the wall and see what stuck. And we organized it to stop the bleeding, look to the future, and the art of the possible. That's strategy. Community and outreach is very important. You know, find something to contribute back to community. Do community service. It is great for you and for to be well-rounded, whether that's volunteer or even volunteer at my hospital. We have a big event coming up. We need a lot of volunteers. I'll send that out to your people here. So look at this roadmap. I know it looks a little complicated, but it's not, right? My experience at Iona, I built a strong academic foundation in business and finance, accounting and operations. Hands up, who's accounting and who's finance? All right, good. Who else do we have here? Marketing? Good. General business? Good. Don't be pigeonholed. Learn more. Step across the line. Here is where you're going to develop the most important part of any job. Critical thinking. Can you think on your feet? Can you make a quick decision? Right? Not every decision is going to be right, by the way. But if you don't make a decision, that's not making a decision. Okay? I had a professor here, Professor Bean. We called him Dean Bean because it rhymed well. And he said, make a decision and go with it. Might not always be the right one, but you need to make a decision. Engage in student organizations. How many people, show your hands, are in some type of group? Club, basketball, football, something. Great, great. All right, we should see more hands though. Okay, and you build lifelong friendships. The people that you are sitting with here, when you start to excel. And by the way, a graduate degree is not optional. Everyone here should be planning on a graduate degree. Because an undergrad degree is not what you need. It is a stepping stone. See those two steps? First one's undergrad, the second one is a graduate degree. When I was here for my graduate degree and I shared with you how nervous I was in my first presentation, in the first presentation we formed 4 people together. And all 4, we stayed together our whole graduate degree. In every class, we were the group. You didn't have to go find a group. Because we all knew we can count on each other and no one wasn't gonna slack. You need to find that group. Don't put somebody in your group because they're funny and you like them. They have to do the work. Strategic leadership is everything. Show of hands, has anyone ever been like a project manager on a group project? Yeah, I'm not seeing a lot of hands here. Okay, when you start to do group projects, you want to raise your hand and say, I want to manage it, right? If it goes wrong, you're responsible. When it goes right, you share the right. Good. I advance my expertise in finance, healthcare, and business. You have to think, what's your niche? Everyone here, you have something you're passionate about. Can you make a career out of it? And when I'm teaching, I tell my students, after you graduate an MBA or a master's degree, in 5 years, if you're not making over $100,000, I did something wrong or you did something. And that's basically your first step. And then you move along the line. My graduate experience, I have to tell you, and I was telling the folks I met today, I would not be standing up here in my position had it not been for my experience here in graduate school. And those 4 friends I told you about, they're all doing unbelievable things. And I snapped a picture when I came in today, because I saw my big head on the screen, and I sent it, and everybody, came back, wish I could have been with you today. I'm traveling on business. I'm in Hong Kong, all doing like great things. Learn from inspiring professors. I pointed out Professor Batiglieri, Dr. Manley. You got to find your rhythm. Life is about rhythm and balance, right? There's going to be hard professors. And don't go to ratemyprofessor.com and decide who you should take, okay? That's not a thing, okay? Take hard professors, because they're going to make you work hard. Gain valuable internship, work-study experience that shape career growth, real-world insights, case studies. Undergrad is all about learning the work, debits on the left, credits on the right, adjusting entries, post-closing trial balances, federal income tax. But when you get to graduate school, you start applying those principles. You stand up here and you start teaching the class. And that's when the light bulb goes off. Connections are everything, professional connections. I showed you all those organizations. It's not just I'm a member, you bring something to it. You have to look at what your value is and look to share it. A rigorous and challenging curriculum. Yeah, it's not easy. I asked somebody today, I'm not going to say who, I said, how's your MBA experience? They said, hard. I said, good, that's what it should be. Okay? And then you apply the knowledge directly to professional roles. Listen, everyone wants to rise to the top. And you want to make good money, you want to have a family, you want to not worry about money, right? You want career growth and work-life balance. Okay? So why Iona? Look, we featured, make sure you say we. We are featured in the Princeton Review Best 390 Colleges. Only 15% of America's 26 four-year colleges are profiled. This is where education meets transformation. I walked in one of your classrooms today, was blown away with the technology. You guys expected because you walked in and it was there. When I walked in, you didn't even have a computer. We were actually taking notes, in case you know what that is. You take paper with a pen. Yeah, we did income statements with 4-column green sheets. Listen, we have a very engaging curriculum here. How are you finding the undergraduate program? Is it engaging? Is it hard? Raise your hand if you think it's hard. I want more hands because I want it to be harder.
All right, we'll make it harder then.
Yeah, make it harder. Let's talk about the changing job market, right? The workforce is evolving, right? Everyone in here, what is your goal after graduation? I'll call on people. What is your goal after graduation? Yes?
Get a job.
Thank you very much. And what are people going to tell you when you try to get a job?
Job market job.
No, they're going to tell you have no experience. So how do you gain experience, right? You start doing internships. You look at whoever got a job before you and say, are they hiring? How can I help? How do I get in? And then when you get that interview, you have to sell yourself, right? There's no lay back in the chair. I graduated from Iona. I had a 3.97. That doesn't mean anything. Can you do the job? Are you the person they're looking for? And I will tell you, if you all apply those principles, everyone here is going to find a job. Whether it's public accounting, finance, private, not-for-profit, stay away from governmental. You see that chopping, that hatchet is just cutting jobs, don't go that route. And there's an increasing demand for specialized knowledge. Show of hands, how many people are using AI to do their homework? No one's going to raise their hand. So you can use AI, but you have to make it your own, right? Put in what you know. Let AI make you a better writer, and then review it. And before you submit it, make sure it makes sense. Because I'm reading a lot of papers. I'm teaching a class right now, and I wrote, great paper. Which AI chatbot wrote this for you? Yeah, that didn't go so well, right? And the competitive advantage of an advanced degree. When you go out for that job after undergrad, they might be looking for a graduate degree, right? And that also show you experience. I've had some of my students that I was able to land a job because I told them about your 4 healthcare classes and what I learned from a practicing professor in the field, and that's what landed me the job. And then look in healthcare. We have the 5 families right here. I'm House Montefiore, by the way, if it was Game of Thrones. My hospital rolls up to Montefiore. You got House Northwell, you got New York Presby, you got Health and Hospital Corporation, and we're an aging workforce. Listen, I'm 55, 11 years, I'm done here. Okay, someone else has got to start coming up. Succession plan is big. When we look across the organization, we do a 9-box succession plan. Who's up next? And not because you've been there 20 years, but who has it? When you leave here, look in the mirror. Do you have it, and how do you get it? Okay? Increase earning potential. Remember what I said. When you leave undergrad, you're not making $100,000. You got to have that grad degree. Okay? If you're making 100, you're doing 90 hours a week, and that's all overtime. It's not sustainable. Expanded career opportunities. Development of leadership and problem-solving skills. Listen, you can't boil the entire ocean, but you got to do it cup by cup, right? And your homework is difficult, I know, and when you look at it, you get very overwhelmed. Piece by piece, chip by chip. Use each other like a trampoline, bounce ideas. And if you have somebody that's in the group that's a slacker, move on. This is your career, guys. This is your future. Case studies is my story, and there's a million other ones. You know, I spoke to a bunch of my Iona buddies that I told them I was doing this. They're like, oh, when can I do it? I was like, well, I'll ask if they're interested in your story, right? Industry benefits from advanced education, right? Your graduate degree, and I know you guys are young, but it's like the Willy Wonka golden ticket, right? It makes you more marketable. And I went back, I took my master's right after the undergrad. Then after that, I studied for the CPA exam, which that's brutal. Ask me if I passed all four parts on the first shot. Absolutely not. Some people in this room told me they did. Congratulations. When I took it, it wasn't computerized. It was pen and pencil down in Lehman College in the Bronx in a big basketball court. And I took all four, failed all four. But that was okay. I wanted to see what it was like. Then I took all four again, passed two. I'm like, oh, I'm really doing something now. Then I went back in, took two, but studied for one, chipped away at it. Because I was not trying to boil the entire ocean. You know, folks that went in there and passed all four, God bless. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't a good test taker, but I understood the work. And I asked Professor Batiglieri, don't ask me no shareholder basis questions. I kind of remember it, but I can't recite it. But every class I took here made me stronger for the CPA exam. And then when someone asks me an accounting finance question, it just reels off. And that's where you guys should be. Now here's where the barriers come in. I don't call them barriers, I call them opportunities. There's always going to be a financial concern. Figure it out, guys. The best debt you can have is student loan debt. So what? I left here, I owed $50,000 in student loans. Big deal. Paid it off. Was happy to do that. I was excited writing that check. But you got to get through those barriers. You got to look at any grants, loans, and if you can get a job, is there any tuition assistance? In my hospital, we offer $5,000 a year for education. That'll help. That'll take 2 classes, and it depends how fast you can do it. From what I understand, a year and a half, if you do the extra time, you got the MBA, the master's degree, not just an MBA. Why not? You're already in the groove, right? Balance work, school, and life, very difficult. When I was taking classes here, I lived in the Bronx, which was 12-minute drive, was great. Now I live further up north, right? But we had to make it work, right? I had just got married. I've been married 30 years. She puts up with me, thank God. But you got to make it work, right? And then now you have alternative pathways. I did not have that. You have hybrid, you have online, you have sync, you have async. And then and I'm so glad to see you all today. That means somebody in here had an in-person class. When I walked by the classrooms, I just smiled. I was trying to listen to what was being taught too. I might have jumped in and said, I know that one. These are my key takeaways, and then we're going to open it up. Investing in a master's degree is investing in yourself. You control it. It's not like buying 100 shares of Apple, which goes up and down like my EKG. You control the outcome. And embracing lifelong learning and personal growth is so important. I'm going to stop, and now I'm going to take all your questions. and I'm gonna call on everybody in the front row. You're up first. I'm not joking. You gotta have a question. You wanna pass and I come back to you? Sir?
What was the pinnacle point in your career so far?
Oh, maybe I'll give you the microphone. That was a good question. Hello? His question was, what was the pinnacle point in my career so far? You know, I never looked at success, and people keep saying, when are you going to stop and celebrate yourself? I think today was an aha moment for me. When I walked in and saw myself on the big screen. Because I never want to take myself too seriously, and I always want to be humble, and I like to say that I'm ordinary, and everyone in the organization can approach me and ask me a question. And you gotta have human and soft skills. And I've worked for a lot of different people, and I've learned what to do and what not to do. And I'm gonna tell you, our previous CEO, and I would never say anything bad, was different. I'll leave it there. Next question. Hello. Yeah, you're up.
Okay, I'm Professor here. So,
Yes.
what's the pros and cons? You start a master program right after undergraduate.
Yeah, so the question is, what's the pros and cons of starting a master program right after undergrad? Well, the pros are you're in the groove. You're in the learning room, your brain is wide open. The cons are you don't get a break, right? But that's okay. You know, I like to say that's the bullet train, that's the shuttle. You know, get on it, do it fast, but do it right. Where you're just not studying a test, you're understanding the material. Because wherever you go, someone's going to ask you a question, and you're an MBA, newly minted, they're going to expect an answer. Great question. Hello.
I was going to ask, just mentioning when you returned to the mailroom,
Yeah.
and the time it took you to get your mentorship from the former CEO, could you maybe talk about some challenges you faced, or
With him?
maybe
Oh.
or some specific tips? Just
I'll give you specific tips. He actually taught me that you are going to talk to people and they're not going to like what you have to say. And you can never, ever take it personal or have a personal bias against anyone. If someone's not doing the job, it doesn't matter if you like them and they're a Knicks fan just like you. No, you show them out. And I'll never forget a story he told me. When he came in as the CEO, I was the assistant controller. And I had a controller. And by the way, that person hired me. And this gentleman sat us both in a room, and you could have heard a pin drop. He said, I'm the boss here. One of you gonna rise up and one of you aren't. And he walked out of the room. Very tense, right? So 3 months later, he calls me in, he says, I'm promoting you to CFO. And I said, what about the other person? He goes, I'm gonna have a conversation with him. You should leave early. I'm like, why should I leave early? So he called me on the way home. He said, I asked him if he still wanted to work here, and he said yes. Probably wasn't the right approach to do it, because now a person I worked for 15 years now works for me. Tense, right? So the next morning, instead of hiding in my office, I went right to him. And he stood up and says, I'm really excited to work for you, Scott. That was very sincere and humble. It didn't work out. I'll leave it, it didn't work out. So I learned a lot from the previous CEO who was different, and I'll say it again, I learned what to do and sometimes what not to do. Never overreact to a situation. You know, COVID was the glue that held my hospital together. Okay? Never overreact to a situation. Good question. You're up.
I wanted to ask, what would you have done differently?
What would I have done differently? My undergrad was a 3.97. My grad was a 3.98. I was very engaged in school. What would I have done differently? I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. Because my life unfolded without a plan. It just happened. I never came in the mailroom and said, you know what, I'm gonna run this hospital one day. And when I drive out of my hospital, you notice how I say my hospital, just like you say your college, I say to myself, I can't believe they put me in charge of this hospital. So life is still unfolding for me, so I don't know what I would have done different. Yeah. Everything I just told you, I would have done the same. Good question.
Do you have any like high expectations on candidates?
Yeah. I put high expectations on myself. If the test is 100, I'll go to Professor Batiglieri, how can I get 105? Is this something else I could do? And he said, yeah, wash my car. I always want to do more than what's required. Even now, I'm going through some stuff with healthcare, and I'm actually doing the work. I do my own PowerPoints. I did this PowerPoint, and I have people that could have done this for me. So I have to say, always be hands-on. And again, I know CEOs who sit in an ivory tower and never come out of their office, and they don't even get their own lunch. I get my own lunch. Why wouldn't I? So I had somebody tell me one day. She said, if you ever change, I'm going to hit you in the back of the head. And it's someone I knew for 20 years that worked in data processing, and I knew her from when I was in the mail. And I told the story at her retirement dinner, and she claimed she never said it. Sir.
What was the toughest part of your journey to get to where you are now?
Yeah, letting go underperforming people. I put everyone who works for me in 3 categories: low, medium, and high. Just coming to work doesn't mean you should get a paycheck. So that's the toughest part of the job, knowing when to cut bait. Yeah. And when people resign to you, there's 3 ways you can react. You can say, oh, why are you leaving? Is there anything I could do? Or you could say, when's your last day? Right? And then you can gauge the response on how happy you are that the person's resigned, because they just saved you from firing. And now you don't have to pay them severance or unemployment.
So I know you spoke about that you started off in the mailroom and
Yeah.
you ended up becoming the CEO, and you didn't anticipate becoming CEO when you first got there. So when was the point that it flipped for you that I'm ready to lead and I'm ready to be the person for this hospital?
So it's a great question. If everyone is in this room and no one can make a decision, who's the leader? The first person who speaks up. I became that person after graduate school in every job I had. And I took those jobs with a fresh lens every time. And the CEO moment came when my CEO told me 2 years he was going to retire. Would I ever consider sitting in his chair? I really didn't know where he was going with that until I said, please explain. But I would say that was the journey. It's a good question.
What are your thoughts on the developments in AI and how should people be using it?
Question was, what are my thoughts, development of AI and how should people be using it? I'm excited. I'm excited because I think it's going to change healthcare. Here, let me put an example. And I have one of my directors from IT here today. He's an Iona alum, by the way, Michael Smith. Yes, I called on you. So here's how AI can help with healthcare. Right now, we have physicians that comb through the chart to make sure that a patient, based on their vitals, their comorbidities, their diagnosis, goes to the right setting. What if AI could do that for us? And be accurate. It not only saves time, it reduces redundancy in processes and people. I'm excited about it because I didn't know, when I went to school, there was no AI. There's probably a movie about it. It will help you be a better writer, but you got to do the work. Please don't turn in something you just flipped out of AI. Make it your own. And I'm excited about other aspects of AI beyond healthcare. Money in banking. How can we make the systems better, more encrypted? Hacking and web intrusion. Can we use AI to stop that? Healthcare is a big target, guys. I got to tell you, I walked in one morning, I had the blue screen of death. I had to call Mike. Good question, sir.
How easy is it to say that's highest?
Yeah. His question was, he always hears that people meet the highest point in their career. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I love what I do, and it's so funny. A headhunter called me yesterday about a CEO job in another hospital. I said, I don't even want to know what the offer is. I'm good and I'm happy. But I do believe that if you're not comfortable, right, and you're always changing every day, because we live in a changed environment, I don't think you ever reach that. You know, my wife asked me that question, what's next? I said, I need to make the hospital stronger and the best. For example, before I took over, no one thought being on the U.S. News and World Report as the best rehab hospital was a thing. In my first year, I got us ranked. Then I got us ranked again, and we got number 32 out of 50. So I looked at 1 through 31. I made some phone calls. I let them know we're coming for them. That's why you should never be comfortable. I did the same thing with Newsweek. Now I'm going to the back row.
Actually, Scott, I just have a quick question.
Yes.
First of all, these have been great
Yeah.
questions from students. We have students in tonight from all different majors, but they may not know like what type of industry that they want to go in.
Yeah.
And you clearly demonstrated tonight that there's a lot of opportunities in business and healthcare.
Yeah.
So talk about why healthcare, like talk about the industry
Yeah.
and the outlook. And also, I noticed we have some, health science majors, some nursing majors here as well. So talk about maybe clinical opportunities at Burke and like the pathways for them to get
Yeah.
their foot in the door.
So if you go to any website, any healthcare website, and do career opportunities, you're going to see a ton of jobs. Whether it's like an admitting clerk, whether it's an MD, a nurse, an LPN, a CNA, healthcare is booming. Our acute care hospitals, that's regular hospitals, are so full right now, the bases are loaded. They need more people. In every area, IT, okay? In patient financial, right? You guys that are accounting and finance, think outside the box. Oh, I'm gonna go work for EY. And they're gonna bleed you for 2 years, by the way. And then you're gonna have to figure out after that. But in healthcare, it is the biggest boom sector in the nation. And then second would be financial services. So, as homework, I want you to go to Northwell or Montefiore website or even Burke.org and just look at the jobs that are available, right? You can go to Indeed, search healthcare finance jobs or healthcare clinical jobs. You're gonna see so many, not gonna have enough time to scroll through all those pages.
And good paying ones too.
Great paying jobs. Just because, and someone told me this one day, just because we're not-for-profit doesn't mean we don't have to make a profit. And if you look at some 990s, some good salaries there. Yeah. Other questions, comments? Yes?
What would be your advice to make yourself stand out in an interview?
Yeah. So I told you you have to sell yourself, right? The interview, and I've interviewed a lot of people, and I always ask, what brought you here today? Tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm waiting for this question. What does success look like in this job? What is the expectations of me 30, 60, 90 days? That is a standout question. And if anyone asks you, do you have any questions, you say no, you're not getting the job. Have questions ready. Go on as many interviews as you can, even if you got no shot at the job. The more you go on, the better you get at it. And do we do mock interviews here?
Yes.
Good, that's important. Yeah, or you tape them and play it back and show them where they could have been better. You fidget too much, play with your hands, your hair, you got your phone out. You don't do any of that.
No, we do at the career center.
Yeah, it's really important. Great question. Yes, sir.
What's your time management like?
It's awful. He said, what's my time management like? It's awful. It's very bad. I haven't been on vacation in 5 years. One day I'm gonna go home, press the button in the garage, and all my sneakers are gonna be there with a note, good luck. My wife, no, it's awful. I'm working on it though. But to work on it, I have to have great people that I can step back, and I'm building that bench. I'm absolutely building that bench. But it's taken me 2.5 to 3 years to be comfortable, because I might take tomorrow off. My secretary said, no, you'll be here, but I might. So I need to get comfortable, but my work-life balance is awful.
I have another question.
Yes,
So, I know you talked about AI.
yeah,
And like how like the advancement of it.
yeah,
Do you think it's gonna take away from like some of the jobs from real people?
no, no. First of all, AI is not 100% perfect, and they're gonna need us to put the information in and do something with the information. If you would have asked me what was the number one thing I learned from my Iona undergrad and grad here, critical thinking, right? AI is going to give you an AI answer, and they're not going to do the work for you. Someone has to do the work. Someone has to communicate with the client. You're not bringing AI with you and say, hey, AI, tell the client the bad news that they're going bankrupt. No, you all have to deliver that message. Great question. Yes?
So I understand from the previous CEO, you said he was different.
Different.
For lack of better words,
Yeah.
right? and when you came in, you had changed the way that things were running.
I did.
How did you figure out what would work for the hospital?
Because I knew the culture was broken, and I had to repair the culture, right? And it's still a repair job, you know, it's still a work in progress. And what you want to do is, you know what a heads-up organization is? Has anyone ever heard that before? A heads-up organization is when you walk into any organization, they have their heads up and they say, good morning. How can I help you? Welcome to Burke. Who are you coming to see here today? We weren't that. It was a heads-down organization. So it's about education, and I credit Iona so much because it made me such a great teacher. So I can have a bunch of people in a room and teach customer service. I can teach 5-star customer service. What does good look like? I could write a script and leave it at the security desk, and when people call, they should be using that script. And do I call at 3 o'clock in the morning and test it out? Absolutely. So that's the difference between a heads-up organization, a heads-down organization, and when you look, people do not want to be there. Now when you look, people want to be there. I start my morning every day on the nursing units. Every day I leave the hospital, I stop by the nursing units. When they don't see me, they get upset. Where have you been? I said, I'm still running a hospital. But it's the communication, people care. And people will stop me in the hallway and ask me all sorts of questions about their retirement, their W-4, I just did my taxes, I owe a ton of money, what do I do? You go to HR, and you fix that. But I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yes?
Why did you choose to do your MBA at Iona after getting your undergrad here?
So I was here, right, and it was a great fit, and I went to a session like this with great professors that talked about the value principle of a master's degree. And believe me, you can get it cheaper, but it won't be better. Think about that. There's a value to that. And I'm not going to say I'm biased because I went here and will I take an Iona resume and put it to the top of the pile. That might happen. If I see somebody in my organization with a lanyard that says Iona, I go, you went to Iona? Tell me more. What department are you in? This is a different organization. This is a climate similar to my hospital. And I will tell you all, figure it out. Sign up, figure it out. I want to come and watch you up here. More questions? Yes?
You talked about you met with the nurses. What are some other leadership qualities that you use to help change the culture of your hospital?
Trust, respect, consistency, and communication. Listen, I might over-communicate. I created a newsletter. It's called A Note from Scott. Then I created a confidential mailbag, and it's called A Note to Scott at Burke.org. If you have something that you don't want to tell anybody or a question, send me an email. 24 to 48 hours, I'll get back to you. And we'll never name names if there's something confidential. But it's really about communication. And someone said to me today, I haven't seen a note from Scott. When are you putting out a newsletter? And I said, next week. I'm not putting it out unless I have something to say. And I put it out in English, and in Spanish, and in Albanian. Yeah. Yes?
So you mentioned the importance of internship experience and on-campus involvement. What are other ways that like a student can stand out?
Volunteering. Oh, standing out in class or in an interview?
To an employer. What's another way
to
they
an
can stand
employer?
out?
So listen, I'm going to tell you something. You got 5 seconds to make a first impression. When you walk into that interviewer's office, they're sizing you up before you said a word. So it's always be presentable, be professional. Your first comment should be, thank you so much for interviewing me today. And looking in the eye, not down, not out the window. You know, it's all about connecting. And an interviewer is writing notes and is going to remember that. And you have to be this, conversational and convincing, right? And not like, you know, I got a 4.0. No, it's I really enjoyed my master's degree at Iona. I got everything I could out of the program and more. And people who put the GPA on the resume, it's really not necessary. Okay? Maybe you put graduated with honors. Okay, good question. More. Yes?
You say you went through the journey of being the mailroom and also the CEO, but what was the biggest challenge you faced?
It's a great question. When you get promoted from within, you become one of the guys to now being the man. That is hard to break. right? Because maybe you were going, not me, but maybe you were going out to Applebee's with people and now they report to you. But if you have the level of respect, there's really not a hard transition. When I got promoted from CFO to CEO, my 13 vice presidents were genuinely excited. I used to work side by side with them, now they all report to me. I don't know now if you ask them that question if they're so excited. But I think it's being true, being yourself, and I don't want to be the previous CEO. I want to be Scott 2.0, but I want to connect with people, but you also can't sugarcoat what the expectations are. If someone missed the deadline, you can't say, well, that's all right, I'll get it on Monday. No, it's not all right. You had 3 weeks to do it, you knew the deadline was this is not grammar school, why didn't you get it done? And when you do the why and the look, you gotta have a bite, by the way. Next time it won't be late. Good question. Yes?
I have a question for you, because you've been at Burke for your career, right? And nowadays, a lot of students, like children included, are thinking about, well, you know, I've been here for like 2 years. I think I have to go to the next job, and then, you know, I'm gonna move up. So, what is good?
So, it's what suits you. A lot of people say you'll make 3 or 4 job changes in your career. But if you find a home, is there really a need to? But the job, you have to change the job. Everything that becomes an open position, you need to apply for, right? And I will tell you, your first job will not be your last job. And while I was on this 30-year journey, I had to do public accounting night and weekends in order to get my time for my CPA credential. You know, I did whatever it took. I worked in a deli 2 nights a week. I had to pay for that MBA program. But you do what it takes, and then you look back and you go, it was all worth it. Great question. Yes?
If you go back in time and talk to yourself, what advice would you give?
That's a good question. You know, it's funny, I never saw myself in healthcare for my career, right? I thought I'd be in finance, working at Madison Square Garden as the CFO for the Knicks. That's my dream job. And believe me, I check to see if it's available all the time. But I never, everything that happened, I like to say is because I listened, learned, and I never shut out mentors. It was not a plan. It wasn't a game plan. You know, I love finance. I loved accounting. It had a start and an end and a finish, right? Here you go. The books are done. The month is closed. The year is closed. You lost $1 million. Let's move on. So I don't know what advice I would give. And I got lucky. And a lot of it was coming here for my undergrad and grad. It gave me the tools to get there. It's a good question. Yes?
In your career, did you ever experience a plateau, and how did you get yourself to get out of it?
So I have to tell you, like, I have this thing where I want to learn all the time. So last year I took 2 executive courses, one at Harvard and one at Cornell. So you have to break through that, right? It's either go around the wall, go through the wall, or let the wall stop you. Pick one, right? Plateau is for people who are comfortable, and you'll never reach that next level. And I really enjoy these executive programs. In fact, I took this Harvard program, and it was all about transformation in information technology. And I'm gonna share a story with you. The professor was awful, and I was trying to bite my tongue. Scott, don't take it over. Please don't take it over. And then the students, I was in a group, and they were like, what are we gonna do? I said, I'm taking it over. So I wanted to take it over, and I get a call from the dean of the Harvard Business School. And he said, I really want to thank you for saving the class. Would you consider teaching a class for Harvard? I said, no, I'm really busy. He said, you say no? No one says no to Harvard. So I said, listen, I'm going to say no. He repeated it again. No one says no to Harvard. I said, okay, I'll think about it. A week later, a new hire package shows up in my mailbox. So obviously I couldn't say no to Harvard. So next year, first quarter, I'm going to adjunct a class for them. But it just happened, right? And again, the leader in the room is the one who speaks out, right? Because someone's got to take control of the situation. When COVID happened, March 6th was our first patient. We had no idea what to do. There was no playbook for COVID. Now we created one. It's called Managing Through a Pandemic. We created a call center We got every employee. What else can you do besides nursing? You have any other skills? I became the czar of PPE equipment for the entire Hudson Valley, because we were all competing for masks and everything. So we became like a mini Amazon, and we bought together. We had a warehouse in Jersey, and we dished it out. And it was the worst of times and the best of times. But great question. Don't let anything plateau you. People, classes, life. Keep pushing through. More questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Edelman, one of the things that Iona prides itself on is on the skills, the professional skills. We spend a lot of time in our classes. If you don't mind just talking further about what skills do you look for in an employee? I know you touched on earlier presentation skills.
Yeah.
What are some of the skills you look for?
So I'm up here without a microphone, right? I'm loud, by the way. I always tell people I don't need a microphone. How do you connect with people? You have to understand the information. Don't read off a PowerPoint. Don't have cue cards. Have bullet points. Know the material. Be able to present the material. You know why? Because you know it. And Professor Batiglieri taught us, you don't need to look in the book if you read the chapter twice. Being prepared. And having the business skills to field any question in the room. I had a question today from a council person. I couldn't answer it. When they left, I researched everything about that topic, if that question ever comes up again, right? And that's pushing through. So your professional, your business skills, how you carry yourself, how you present, and you have to be convincing, right? So I hope that answered your question. More questions? Yes?
You talked about learning everything you can.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, was there ever a point in your career that you didn't know what to do and had to learn by experience?
Yeah, COVID, without a doubt. COVID was, I remember we ordered masks. It was COD, cash on delivery, and I opened the box up and it was a box of bricks, right? Learn by example. Sometimes you got to find your way. You know, and sometimes when a new person comes in and you say, that's not the way we've done it, the second response is, well, let's try it a different way and see which way is the best way. You know, because I hired a new director, and she said, I'm having a challenge because everyone is set in their ways. I said, show them a better way, right? And be real with people, too. Let them know the expectations, right? Because when you're new and you're in an organization, people are going to see how far they can push you. Good question. Other questions? Did I exhaust the room?
No.
I'm good at that.
I just one more. Or...
Yeah. One more, anything. My favorite team is the Knicks, in case you want to know. I live and die with them. I don't care if they lose 82. Yes?
What has been your biggest, I guess, professional disappointment or mishap, and what lesson did you learn from it?
That's a good question. There's many. So I do Monday morning quarterback on my drive home. And I say to myself, did I handle that correctly? Could I have done that better? So I can be better the next time? I probably would go with the way the employee was treated, that he reported to me and I reported to him. He could have been handled with a little bit more dignity. And I should have stepped in and demanded that. And that's going to haunt me forever. Yeah, it's a good question. Mike is shaking his head so he knows I'm talking about. I hope this was helpful, you know, and I hope you all are inspired. And please, go get a master's degree when you finish. Finish strong, too. Finish your undergrad strong. Go into class tonight or tomorrow with a newfound spring in your step. And, you know, get it done. And I want to read about you all, and I want to see you all at the alumni dinners or newsletters. Go out there and change the world. And thank you all. I really enjoyed it.